do you feel about elective C-sections? Because there's a lot of stigma online and, it's like almost taboo for somebody to elect a C-section, even for your first child. And so I figured, because we also hear doctors don't want to do elective C-sections and they're going to try to talk you out and they're going to try to get you to have a vaginal birth. So how do you feel about elective C-sections?
For me, I like to get the history first on why somebody is electing that. Now, if you're talking about somebody who doesn't have any reason, like medical reason why they would need a C-section and they just don't want to have a vaginal birth, number one, that's a valid reason. So as soon as they come in, I tell them it's totally valid that you want that, but I would like to hear a little bit more on why you want that. And I would like to make sure you're informed about what are the risks and benefits of having a C-section versus trying for a vaginal delivery. So in my past, I've had probably a couple of people who had either trauma before where they just can't imagine a baby coming out of there. And I've also had, I'm actually doing a C-section in 2 weeks on someone who her mother and all of her sisters had C-sections. And in my exam of her pelvis, she has not a good birthing pelvis, more or less. And she knew that when her sisters went through it, they both tried for vaginal deliveries and ended up with C-sections with relatively normal sized babies. Nobody was like 10 pounds, and that's why it happened. So when she got pregnant, she was like, I just don't want to go through that. So when she came into me, I said, totally valid point. You don't have a great pelvis anyway. I don't see why you'd want to go through that to end up with a C-section. Let's plan a date. And here's at my talk about risk and benefit of C-section. Because, it is riskier than a normal vaginal delivery just because it is surgery. So, you can have an anesthesia problem. You can have injury to your bowel or bladder. You can have a lot of bleeding. You can have an infection. Being that C-sections are the most common surgery that anybody does, it's unlikely that a lot of those things are going to happen, but we've all seen them. I've seen people with hematomas after C-section. I've seen people with infections. I've seen people with wounds that open up. So you try to avoid all of those things, and we're pretty good at avoiding it, but the risk is there. So as long as they're aware of risk versus benefit, and we have a fully informed consent decision, and they want to sign about that, we plan how they want it. Just to make a mention, in my last book, I have the story of somebody who absolutely wanted an elective section, probably trauma, couldn't imagine pushing a baby out. I'll tell you the synopsis of the story. You guys should read the book, but came in labor. We had a section date planned for a week later, but she came in a week early in labor. And she was like 4 centimeters dilated. We had discussed that if she came in labor, we were just going to section her because she didn't want it. So, but the thing is, like we were just talking about, we don't have the OR ready immediately. We don't have everything. I said, it's going to take about 40 minutes to get you admitted, get your IV in, get you into the OR, get your spinal in. So, and during that time, I can give you some pain medication, but we're still going to take a certain amount of time to get there. P.S. We wheel her into the OR. I'm there with her. She turns over, they put her spinal in, and she feels much more comfortable. She's numb from the waist down. We're about to start prepping her belly for the C-section. And she goes, oh, I think I peed on myself. Water broken. I examine her, complete, fully dilated on the OR table. And I said to her, the baby's head is right there. You're completely pain-free right now. I can get that baby out with an instrument, or you can just push. She pushed the baby out and was happy as a clam because her real thing was she didn't want to feel it. She didn't want to feel any exams. She didn't want to go through that whole process. That's the first person I ever delivered with a spinal anesthetic in place for a C-section, and she pushed her baby out. I said, I got to put this in my book.
Yeah, that completely contradicts the you can't feel the push.
Oh no,
she could not feel anything.
Didn't feel a thing. I just said, think constipation really hard and just push. And 15 minutes, she pushed the baby out. I mean, and she and her husband were in like complete shock. I said, I would have done the C-section all the way up to that point, but now you're talking more risk than benefit. What am I going to do?
Yeah, trying to get the baby out of the pelvis.
So she goes, if you think I can do it, I'll do it. So the answer to your question is yes, elective C-section, absolutely.